flying bedstead which was developed to see if an aircraft could provide and sustain lift without aerodynamic help.
A strange-looking beast, the short SC-1. It had 5 Rolls-Royce 108 engines, 4 mounted for vertical and 1 for horizontal flight. An experimental machine to investigate control problems during the transition from the hover to wing-borne flight. She first flew in 1957. Coincidentally, the Harrier concept was proposed in that same year and first flew in a tethered hover in 1960. It's come a long way since then, as Flight Lieutenant Ray Coates in this Harrier T4 two-seat trainer from the Operational Conversion Unit at RAF Wittering now demonstrates as he creeps in low over the trees to land in a small clearing. It's worth remembering that it's probably going to be quite difficult for the pilot to locate such a clearing in real conditions. It's hardly like landing at Heathrow. In her natural habitat, somewhere just behind the front line, Ray Coates prepares for a vertical takeoff. Ray's left hand moving forward to change the nozzle angle as he transitions to forward flight. Now in the single-seat GR3 and at the other end of the speed scale, Ray shows she can shift along quite smartly. Ray Coates is in his 3rd year of displaying the Harrier, and he's the flight commander of the Basic Handling Squadron with 1,200 hours on type. A pilot's eye view out of the cockpit with the green symbology of the head-up display clearly visible as Ray lines up on the display line. I was very privileged to fly with Ray last year when he took me through his routine. It was an experience I shall never forget. It's quite mind-boggling to defy all the normal aerodynamic laws. As he sedately approaches the President's tent to pay his respects, some more remarkable views out of the cockpit. Another demonstration of this aircraft's great versatility, as Ray Coates comes in for an RBL, short for a rolling vertical landing and takeoff. And just watch this climb away with virtually no forward speed as he powers it up into an 85-degree climb.
And just to prove this is an all-weather aircraft, see what happened during rehearsal after a cloudburst.
Now here's someone with a real identity crisis and thinks he's a Harrier. The Boeing Chinook with its distinctive twin rotors, each of 60-foot diameter. I think he's actually trying to outdo the Harrier, taking off backwards. This aircraft comes from No. 7 Squadron based at RAF Odium and flown by Flight Lieutenant Malcolm Reeves. It's fitted with an automatic flight control system and auto-stabilization to make for ease of handling. There are radar warning receivers in the nose and in the trailing edge of the rear pylon to provide all-round cover. She can carry up to 44 passengers in the cabin or 28,500 pounds slung underneath. A bag full of 25 minis.
In France and in the Battle of Britain, where it destroyed more enemy aircraft than all the other defences put together. I think it's got tremendous charisma, but despite all this, it's never somehow had the glamour of its famous partner.
A formation of 3 Supermarine Spitfires of the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. Both the Rolls-Royce engines and the R.J. Mitchell-designed airframe were descended from the victorious seaplane racers, which won the Schneider Trophy outright. The excellent basic design allowed continuous development over its 10-year production run, during which more than 20,000 aircraft were made, culminating in the Mark 24. This Mark 19 with the D-Day markings is flown by Squadron Leader Paul Day.
This was the tornado of its time, the all-wood Mosquito, a multi-role combat aircraft capable of 400 miles an hour and able to give a very nasty bite. It used the Merlin engines like the Spitfire and the Hurricane, and its role in UK air defence was essentially that of a night fighter equipped with radar. The Mosquito was also used successfully as a pathfinder. Its job was to drop flares on enemy targets before the bombers arrived. We're about to watch a tactical demonstration, which is all about speed and efficiency. As soon as the Hercules stops, 2 armoured vehicles will be offloaded as fast as possible and go straight into action. The cargo doors are open. There goes one. There goes the second. And the troops are from the RAF regiment.
Runway 27, Hercules on the runway, backtracking quickly.
Very quickly, the troops have taken over, and the key thing about this manoeuvre is the element of surprise. In hostile countries, the runways are often very makeshift affairs, and as the Hercules turns round for a quick departure, you can see just how manoeuvrable this 50-ton aircraft is.
In these situations, it's important to do as short a takeoff as possible, and the aircraft, much lighter of course without its load, is able to do a very steep climb out to avoid hostile small arms fire. Squadron Leader Kingsford and his crew are now banking sharply away to head back to friendly airspace. And into RAF Fairford comes the TriStar.
Almost 250 feet long, it can carry 100 tons from here to New York without stopping. And if you've got £100 million to spare, you could buy one.
The Air Transport Wing and comes from the Skaraborg district of Sweden. These pilots really do show off what can be done with what is, after all, a very large military transport. Bengt Damberg and Anders Wallström are the display pilots of the Swedish Air Force Hercules. Bengt, that was a most impressive display. What sort of bank angle are you reaching during your wing overs?
Approximately 120 degrees on the top.
That's an awful lot of bank. Anders, what strikes me as being a very unusual feature of your display is that you shut the outboard engines down. Are there any problems associated with that?
Well, sir, there's no problems, and normally we are doing that in Sweden, and that's just because we like to show the people how the aircraft is to handle with only 2 engines, and it works fine. And there is no problem to restart.
Gentlemen, thank you.
And the
Pratt & Whitney engines, this bomber generates enormous power as 200 tons of metal accelerate down the runway. It's got outrigger wheels on the wingtips to stabilize it for takeoff and landing. These aircraft have been operational for 30 years and remain the backbone of Strategic Air Command. The undercarriage retraction sequence looks a bit of a shambles. I'm sure it's quite a handful to land in a crosswind, and for that reason, it can be offset to compensate for any crosswind effect. With its 5-man crew, the aircraft is from 596 Squadron based at Barksdale Air Force Base, Louisiana.
Another American aircraft rarely seen in Britain is the Lockheed TR-1. It's an ultra-high-altitude reconnaissance platform, and its normal environment is cruising at 90,000 feet, the edge of space. So its pilot has astronaut clothing and life support systems. Since it first flew in 1957, it's performed numerous assignments, from testing equipment for satellites to mapping the Earth.